Hi everyone, it is Dr. Jen Kordonsky at Optimal Spine Chiropractic, and this evening's class is called Don't Get Old. So, I don't know if you have ever offered that advice to anyone or if you have been the recipient of that advice, but I have heard it many, many times in my life. It's usually said, kind of in jest. We know that none of us can stop those birthdays from coming. But usually it's also said when someone is kind of dealing with something unpleasant about usually their physical body, and they have kind of surrendered to the fact that there's nothing they can do about it. It's due to old age. And the only thing would have been to not have gotten old. So I want you to think about, what does getting old mean to you? What do you associate with getting old? Be honest with yourself. In our culture, we don't tend to associate age with wisdom and experience, and bringing something valuable to our lives. We have a tendency to think of aging in terms of loss of health, loss of strength, loss of our youth. People think about, getting weaker, losing their balance, getting sick more often, having a higher incidence of diseases. But I want to just stop you in your tracks and make you think a little differently about aging. Right now, it's imperative that we just stop that narrative and realize that what we have been told through the images that we see in the media, in movies, in what we read, what's around us, what we all talk about, what we all expect, is not normal aging. We have come to confuse common with normal. Common is not normal. So what we commonly see and what is commonly talked about, what are common signs of old age, does not have to be your experience. It is not normal that we are so sick and so unhealthy, and that our bodies diminish year after year after year. It does not have to be that way. I have seen it in reverse, that when people make changes in their life, that year after year after year, they can be building their health. When they're at a certain age where it would be expected that year after year they would be losing health. So understand that just because something is common, you see it, your mother experienced it, your father, the people who have aged around you, does not mean that it has to be your normal. We have a certain lifestyle and certain models of healthcare and ways that we treat our body that have created this common experience. And I want you to ask yourself, do you think that something else is possible? If so, if that little voice inside of you says, yeah, something else could be possible, then we have to pursue that and put energy into that thought process. If you've ever heard of what are called blue zones, to me, this is the perfect way to change the way that you think about your body and you think about aging, is understand what the blue zones are, or sadly were. There are places around the world where it was very common for people to live into their 90s, even over 100, but not just survive to that age, but to be living and thriving very healthy, functional lives. Of course, aging happens. We're not saying that they didn't have wrinkles and gray hair, but these are people who were nearly 100, who are nearly 100 years old, and they're still actively pursuing work and social engagements, and they're physically capable of doing the things that they want to do and like to do. These places around the world where people were living these thriving, healthy lives to such a ripe old age are disappearing. So why is that? Are the genes of these people changing over the generations? That's not the case. Genes do not mutate, do not evolve, do not change that rapidly. But what is changing very rapidly? Lifestyle. Just think about, what was life like for your grandparents? What was life like for your great-grandparents? Did it resemble anything like today's life? The foods, the jobs, the stress levels, is there anything about the lifestyle that we live today that it was similar 100 years ago? That is what's changing very, very rapidly. And we are exporting this unhealthy lifestyle that we have in the Western, world, and it is pervading these places where people had very healthy lifestyles that was supporting them growing old in a healthy way. So please let that sink in. Genes do not control your life. Genes are like recipe books, is my favorite analogy for helping to really understand what a gene does. A gene codes for proteins. It contains the recipe to make a protein. Proteins are what do things, change things, make stuff happen in your body. So if you and I have the same recipe book or the same genes, does it mean that we are going to cook the same recipe for dinner tonight? Absolutely not. Unless we talked on the phone and discussed this, I might pick a recipe out of my book based on what I have in the cabinet, what I have in the refrigerator, who's coming to dinner, how many people there will be, what I'm in the mood for. And you are going to pick the recipe that you choose out of that same book based on whatever is going on in your environment, right? Even though we have the same recipe book, the chances of us picking the same recipe are slim to none. And genes code for thousands of different proteins. And it's more about the signals that the gene receives. What's going on in the environment that decides which protein those genes or that gene is going to make at that time. So it's a whole field of study called epigenetics, above the genes. What causes genes to turn on or off? What causes them to make certain proteins or not others? So just because mom had this condition does not mean that you are going to have this condition. But what runs in families besides genes? Life. So there's a tendency for us to have, similar habits, and because we see this as our future, we tend to create it in our body. But if we want to follow the advice to not get old, step one is to change the way you think about aging. You have to change your expectations. You have to change the way you think about your body. You have to change the way you talk about your body. You have to believe that you have influence over your results. If you don't think that you have the ability to change your health and your body, then guess what? You're right. The expression, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So if you have the expectation and you start to train yourself to believe that you have influence over your health and your body and your aging and your well-being, then you will. But it's a process. First, you have to notice that you've been thinking that aging is a certain thing. You have to notice that you've been thinking that aging is inevitable and that, turning this age means this and it's a matter of time before I get X, Y, Z. So first, start to notice. Catch yourself, whether you're talking to yourself or you're talking to someone else, catch yourself thinking these things or saying these things. And then step two is once you start to notice, start replacing the speech or the thought with something more positive, something more optimistic, something that opens the door of possibility of there being some other way of it being. So if you catch yourself saying, oh, well, I guess I'm not getting any younger, say, oh, wait, that's not what I want to be telling myself. How about I say, well, I am working on building my health. I am doing things to improve. So once we start shifting the thought process, shifting our expectations, that's going to open the door for you to take better actions. Because if you don't even think that change is possible, then you're really probably not going to take the actions that are necessary to build health. And what I want to point out here is that I am not talking about anti-aging. I don't like the concept of fighting against what we don't want. I don't want to fight disease. I don't want to anti-age. I want to build health, promote youth, put the energy into the things that you want more of. Do you want more disease? Well, then think about fighting disease, because you're putting a lot of energy into disease. Do you want more health, more vitality? Then think about putting energy there. What do you want more of? So let's talk about some actions that you can take to put energy into building your health and expanding your youth and vitality. Number one is you have to move. So you've heard the expression, use it or lose it, right? Your body is so use it or lose it. The only thing that you are not use it or lose it with is calories. Your body will hold on to that and save it up for a rainy day, of course. But everything else about your body is use it or lose it. This is the physical body. It's the mental capacities. If you don't use it, you don't get to keep it. So if you don't move your body regularly and consistently and with purpose, like, I don't want to say the exercise word, but kind of exercise in different ways, in fun ways, in varied ways. But if you don't use it, if you don't move your body, then you will absolutely guaranteed lose strength. You will lose flexibility of your muscles. You will lose flexibility in all of the joints. You will lose heart and lung strength and flexibility of those vessels. You will lose elasticity of the vessels. You will lose bone strength. You'll lose your ability to balance and not have falls. You will lose immune system strength, the ability of your body to keep itself healthy and to not succumb to infection. Your mental acuity will suffer if you don't physically move your body. So those people who think that they can just use their brains and not use their bodies are going to prematurely lose the mental flexibility, the mental acuity that they really want. So we need regular movement in our life. Choose a variety of activities, ideally things that are fun for you, but we've got to mix in different types of movement. Movement that challenges your cardiovascular system, so that makes your heartbeat go up, makes your rate of respiration go up. We have to choose movements that challenge our muscles, that are, a little hard to do. They don't have to be massively hard. And your strength building exercise is going to be different than my strength building exercise and different than someone else's. But we have to do things that challenge the muscles. We also have to do things that challenge your balance. So just going for a walk on a treadmill doesn't really give us the full scope of movement and challenges that we need to stimulate the protection of your balance, your flexibility. We need the joints to move in full ranges of motion. So just doing a bench press isn't going to get the shoulder moving through a full range of motion. When's the last time you stood on one leg and kicked and used your balance and challenged the muscles of the one leg to keep you in that position? So there's so many different things that need to come into the concept of movement. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. If they could put all the benefits of exercise in a pill, everyone would be taking it, right? And it would be flying off the shelves. Exercise is not for weight loss, okay? We have to get that out of our heads. We don't exercise to lose weight. It's the most inefficient way to lose weight. But there's so many health benefits. Like I mentioned before, muscles, joints, heart and lungs, the blood vessels, your balance, your brain, your immune system, stress management, hormonal balance. There's just a million and one benefits to moving your body. It is the secret sauce for staying young. I mentioned it, but I really want to emphasize that everyone is going to start where they are. And if you're already active and exercising, then just look for ways to vary it. If you're starting from scratch and you don't move at all, and just walking from the door to the mailbox is the challenge, then that's where you start. It does not matter where you start as long as you start. It doesn't matter if you are already perfectly physically fit. If you're not doing something to build on that, guess what's going to happen? You're going to lose it. The only way to coast is downhill. So we have to push ourselves a little bit and add more movement. On that note, it's critical for your health, your longevity, your vitality, that your spine moves well. So you could be in the best shape of your life, you can exercise all the time, and you can still have segments of your spinal joints that do not move the way they are supposed to, what we call in chiropractic subluxation. So even if you are taking your body out and you're physically moving and you're active, you are benefiting yourself in a lot of ways, but the lack of movement properly in the spinal joints can create wear and tear and degeneration in the spine, which could lead to arthritis. But most importantly, it's creating a stress signal in your nerve system. When the spinal joints don't move properly, that is stressing your brain. So you are not going to be healthy, you are not going to think as well, be as mentally clear with that stress signal going to your brain. And think about the communication between your brain and your body. So if the spine is not healthy, if the joints are not maximally flexible, and your spine moving really, really well, then we're going to create interference in the brain-body communication. And that can impact your health in so many ways. And it really, we've said it before, subluxations are most often painless. We do not necessarily feel when those spinal joints aren't moving properly. So your regular, consistent chiropractic care is an amazing way to keep your body young, flexible, healthy, and all of your organ systems working in homeostasis. So what else can we do? What sort of actions can we take to promote youth and build health? Well, I think the second most important thing after movement is what we put into our body. Aging of the cells of the body has a lot to do with free radical damage. So normal things that we do every day, just living and breathing, digesting food, create or generate free radicals. Free radicals are loose electrons and they can cause damage to the cells. And we need antioxidants to come and neutralize to prevent the damage. So antioxidants are crucial to protecting from premature aging of all of your cells. So where do you think you get the most antioxidants from? It's fruits and vegetables. So nature made it so that the things that grow out of the earth are usually loaded with antioxidants. And we want to fill our bodies with those. You can supplement, and that's, I think, a wise idea because we live in a time where we are being assaulted with stress and, free radicals all the time. So a little extra help, but you can't just supplement on top of a poor diet. So everywhere that you can put something fresh and healthy into your body Your body will thank you, and you can remind yourself that this is part of you keeping yourself young. Staying very hydrated, I think, is very important as well. And fruits and vegetables have naturally occurring water in them, so it helps to hydrate your body. When we are concerned about free radicals, we have to take notice of the things that will generate a lot of free radicals in our body. So obviously smoking, processed foods. Not only are they devoid of nutrition and the antioxidants that will help us fight free radical damage, but they are usually loaded with processed oils, which are really, really damaging to all of your cells. Probably the worst food we can consume are these bad, unhealthy processed oils. And they're usually typically also loaded in sugar, and that is damaging to our cells too. So we want to look for opportunities to put good, fresh things in our body. We want to look for opportunities to do less processed. You want to live life and have fun too. It's not an all or nothing, but look at the balance. Try to nourish yourself. We also need sunshine and sleep. I know people worry about getting too much sun and that being damaging to your skin. And yes, the sun generates free radicals, which can damage your skin. But we were designed to get vitamin D from sunshine, and that's critically important in a number of functions in our body. So we have to balance our sun exposure. Healthy sun exposure is important for health. Getting enough sleep can't be underestimated. We talk about a whole class on the importance of sleep. That is where you regenerate. You are going to grow older faster if you are not getting a good, healthy amount of sleep, not just quantity, but quality. So that's important to address. Like I said, we have classes, other topics on nutrition and sleep, and then stress, how much stress we deal with. Think back, what we said about your lifestyle today versus your grandparents' or your great-grandparents' lifestyle. Stress is a big deal. We do not pay attention to the fact that we live life at a pace up here that is way more intense than our nerve systems really want. When was the last time you did something that was relaxing, nourishing to you energetically? So much of everything we do all day, every day is just get it done. And we are in this stressed state very often. So take a look at the stress classes that we have available on YouTube. Getting adjusted is tremendously important for helping balance the nerve system. So when we deal with stress, we get put in this sympathetic dominant state, and an adjustment can help bring you down into the parasympathetic, more healing state of being for your nerve system. And the last thing that I'd like to mention is it's really important that in all of this busyness, that we are doing things that contribute to ourselves and to others. And part of staying young and preserving our health is staying engaged. And you may know people who are, very busy, and then they retire, and then they just don't really have engagement with others. They don't have purpose, or they're just kind of bored. It's against our social nature as humans, especially with COVID and isolating from others. It's been a real challenge for some people. So make sure that if you're in that phase of your life where everything is busy, that you are taking time to do things that nourish and contribute to yourself, and things that you feel are giving back to others, that are not just the work that needs to be done, but that you assign some purpose to what you're doing. Like, I feel so incredibly lucky that my job is serving others through chiropractic, and that I know I'm giving back, and it's not just busy work, right? So anything, you can find the meaning, you can find the contribution in what you're doing. So I suggest that. And if you're in that phase of your life where you're done with the busy, find a way to engage socially with other people and to do things that are contributing. Volunteering, engaging in a social club, whether it be online or in person. There's ways that you can do that. So all of that, is a summary of how not to get old, but really to stay young and vibrant and healthy and enjoy every bit of the life that we get to live. It's most important, though, that we switch the thought process, right? We have very deeply ingrained patterns of thinking about aging that until we notice and undo those, we will be recreating them in our body. So good luck observing your thoughts and your words and engaging with others. Share the idea of thinking differently about your aging process, and celebrate what comes with age a little bit more. Notice or read up on what blue zones are. So open your mind to the idea. And thank you all who are here live. I am very happy to have you with me. I look forward to sharing with you next week, and I look forward to seeing all of you soon. Have a wonderful night. Build health and spread kindness.